All right, welcome to the Young Turks. Cenk, Uygur, and Kasparian. Apparently it's picnic day today. We both have our picnic shirts on. All right, so lots of stories to get to, including a bombshell in the beginning. Okay.
I don't even want to do the whole ooh, we're gonna tease you. We'll tell you what the bombshell is at the bottom of the hour. No, we're gonna do it now.
Bottom of the hour.
We're gonna do it now, not bottom of the hour, top of the hour.
Top of the
show.
You got to tune in the beginning of the show, okay?
Yeah.
And you got to tune in the conversation that had that interesting abortion conversation some of you just watched. So make sure you're watching all of our programs. We got primary night tonight. Amy Villela, one of the big four from Knock Down the House, got a primary tonight. So we'll cover it for you guys. But now, bombshell.
There is a new bombshell expose that alleges that Lauren Boebert worked as an unlicensed escort and allegedly had 2 abortions. Now, who is claiming this? None other than the American Muckrakers PAC, the same political action committee behind the demise of Madison Cawthorn. So far they've had a pretty accurate track record, especially in regard to releasing some pretty salacious claims about the individuals they're targeting. I do want to note that there haven't been any independent sources who have corroborated the claims that are being made by this political action committee. So it's really, really important to keep that in mind. With that said, though, the allegations are explosive, and I want to share them with you in case they do happen to be real, because it shows you that Lauren Boebert, much like many other Republican politicians we've talked about on this show, happens to be a major hypocrite. It's totally fine if someone's working as a sex worker, something that we're supportive of, something that we want to provide protection for sex workers on. And obviously, I am very much in favor of women being able to practice control over their own bodies, being able to practice their reproductive rights. Lauren Boebert, notably, wants to ban abortion in this country. So that's why this is an explosive story. And I want to give you the details that have been outlined over at fireboebert.com. That's the website that was launched by the American Muckrakers PAC. So Lauren Boebert, according to the website, was an unlicensed paid escort and met clients through sugardaddymeat.com. Text messages show she was bankrupt at the time and looking for side income and called her work pay to play. She was paid to escort wealthy men. Now again, I personally have no problem with it as long as the person working as an escort isn't actively trying to push this ideology that sex workers are terrible, that it should be banned, that there should be serious consequences for people who engage in sex work. Boebert had an abortion at the Planned Parenthood clinic in Glenwood Springs, Colorado, due to her work with a sugardaddymeat.com client. And it was through her side job that she got introduced to a United States Senator, Senator Ted Cruz, as is alleged in this release. In 2019, Boebert was hired by a wealthy male client in Aspen, Colorado, who was a Koch family member. Boebert's rich client subsequently introduced her to US Senator Ted Cruz in Aspen in 2019. After meeting with Senator Cruz, Boebert was encouraged by him to run for US Congress. Now here's where things get even more interesting. After Boebert announced her campaign for Congress in December of 2019, Senator Cruz donated $126,000 to the Boebert campaign.
Did he?
And helped her raise large sums of money during trips Boebert made to Texas.
Interesting.
Boebert didn't disclose a $75,000 donation until Cruz's Federal Election Commission filings contradicted her filings.
Interesting. Okay, so guys, first of all, bombshell, okay? Second of all, it's the first 24 hours. We tell you each time things develop, okay? So we'll give you updates as we go along. So for example, if other media organizations jump in and find out that it's not true, we'll come back and tell you it's not true, okay? If they find out corroborating evidence, we'll come back and tell you they have corroborating evidence, okay? So for now, they're just allegations on this political website. Now, having said that, as Anna pointed out, they were right about Madison Cawthorn. They did have receipts. We're gonna show you some receipts they have in a second in this case. And I'll double down on what Anna said. Of course, we don't care that she's an escort, but what the part that matters are when politicians then basically deliver in a very similar fashion, but actually this time immoral fashion for their donors. So you notice Ted Cruz giving a lot of money to Boebert after he's apparently, allegedly introduced to her as an escort. That is fascinating, and that would certainly, if it's true, certainly Ted Cruz has some explaining to do. I don't know if that's why he didn't mind phone banking for Donald Trump after Donald Trump attacked his wife. I don't know. I don't know. Okay, but I do know she hid the money that he sent her. He didn't hide it. To be fair to Ted Cruz, he didn't. So far he hasn't done a thing wrong. Okay, right. But she hid that money. That goes towards intent. It goes towards, hey, why did you hide it? Right?
Why didn't you disclose that massive donation from Ted Cruz? That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And later you're gonna see something about her husband and how her husband's taking money. In a political realm, I think that that's actually the worst of it, okay? But if it's true that she had a couple of abortions and she was, that is devastatingly hypocritical. But remember, Republicans have not minded in the past. So I'm gonna come back to that too, and we have a specific example of that. The escort part is just, general family values, until of course not family values. But really, is any Republican still pretending to be a party of family values? I don't even think they're after Trump and the porn stars and etc.
Yeah, they're absolutely pretending to be, party of family values.
That's a joke, and you all know it's a joke.
I mean, with all of the anti-LGBTQ stuff that we're seeing from the right wing right now, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, if you're an evangelical Christian and you're still a Republican and you're saying you're a Republican because of family values, you're not participating in a joke. You are the joke. Okay, after supporting Trump and all of the others, you don't believe in family values at all. You just believe in hating gay people. Let's just be clear about where you stand. All right, but back to Bobo.
So the person who shared this information to American Muckrakers PAC did not want to disclose his or her, I'm guessing his, identity out of fear of retaliation. But the person who shared the information with the PAC said that Boebert's husband, Jason Boebert, was also dealing drugs. So there were those types of allegations as well. The whistleblower, again, requested anonymity in fear of retaliation, but also shared some receipts to back up the claims. But I also want to kind of warn caution in regard to these receipts, because I did a search and these photos were actually out there already. So let's share some of the text messages here. Yes, I have the photos from the actual site, meaning the Sugar Daddy website. I will send it, let me get that now. And then he sends that photo. That photo, I had never seen it before, but there are some online forums, some of which had already posted this image in 2021. So she apparently had an account on exploretalent.com. And so these images were used on that profile page, but they could have also been used on a Sugar Daddy profile page as well. Who knows?
Look, and I'm being honest, I can't even tell if it's her, to be honest.
Yeah.
Or the other pictures, I just can't tell at all.
Yeah, so let's go to the next one. So this next photo is from, honestly, when she was trying to pursue a modeling career.
Oh, so that's definitely her?
Yeah,
again,
no, it's definitely her. It is definitely her. So she had a short-lived attempt at a modeling career, and this happened to be one of the images on the website for that. And so there you go. She might have repurposed those images for the Sugar Daddy website. Now, David B. Wheeler, who's the president of American Muckrakers PAC, summed up with a list of what she's being accused of here. So let's go to that list right now. So allegedly, again, Boebert had 2 abortions, but says other women shouldn't be able to make this decision. Boebert was driving an ATV and had a serious wreck with her son in the back. And her sister-in-law is so seriously injured, she has to be flown to the hospital via life flight. Boebert doesn't report the accident as required by Utah law, and then actively works to cover up the accident 2 weeks before the primary election, including paying her sister-in-law off to remain silent. Also, Boebert uses donor money to pay her taxes and restaurant rent. Boebert still owes her employees back pay and threatens them if they protest. Jason Boebert, I think this is what you were alluding to, Cenk. Yes. Has a consulting contract for an oil and gas company for $460,000 a year, but has 0 consulting experience. Sounds a lot like Hunter Biden, to be honest.
And by the way, the family members of almost all the politicians.
Yes, exactly, yeah. And one other thing I want to draw attention to, we've talked about this on the show before, but Lauren Boebert had a little bit of a shady past. She had been arrested several times. She has multiple mugshots that are available online. Here's an example of one of the mugshots. So it's not like she had a goody two-shoes reputation prior to running for Congress anyway. And she was arrested and summoned at least 4 times over the past decades, records show. While the 3 arrests and 1 court-ordered summons were for petty crimes, and in one case, all charges were dropped. Boebert's record is unusually long for a sitting member of Congress. And she was also arrested back in 2015 for unruly behavior and interfering with police. She allegedly shouted at people detained on suspicion of underage drinking, urging them to flee from police, which caused the young drinkers to become unruly. So she's got all sorts of things that are terrible in her past that have been confirmed. Just another data point to be aware of as we try to figure out how accurate the latest allegations are.
Yeah, so let me give you a bunch of caveats and then conclusions. So first of all, on the accident, look, people have accidents, but she does the same thing over and over again, which is hide the facts, right? So she hides the fact that she owes her employees money but doesn't want to pay it. She hides the fact that they had this terrible accident. There's no reason to hide that. People, you're human, it's okay, right? She hides the money from Ted Cruz, which there's tons of money flowing back and forth in politics. I don't know why you would even hide that. That's not illegal. Ted Cruz reported it. But like the guilty mind of constantly hiding everything she's ever done is interesting. Look, crimes in the past, I believe in redemption. I'm not gonna hold that against someone. But if it goes towards, hey, she's been a lifelong grifter and this is just her latest con, well, then I care. And the Jason Boebert part to me is the most relevant. Guy has no consulting experience. All of a sudden, an oil and gas company gives him $500,000. Well, and then which way is Boebert voting? Oh, you're gonna be shocked to find out with oil and gas companies. Of course.
How did he get that job? I'm curious, because if the connections to the Koch brothers family happen to be true, were there favors for Boebert's husband in order for him to get this kind of position? I don't know. I'm just putting stuff out there.
No. If he has 0 consulting experience and he got $460,000, that is. And she's voting with oil and gas companies. That's clear as day. Whether you can prove in court that that's a bribe, that's another issue. I mean, almost all the politicians do it. I think it's totally criminal. I think it's criminal when Democrats do it. I think it's criminal when Republicans do it. But the elite get away with everything. But so as a voter, et cetera, as an American citizen, like, no, that's obviously, whether it's legalized or not legalized, that appears to be a bribe if it's proven out, okay? If not, hey, Jason Boebert, come out and tell us all this incredible consulting experience you had before in politics, in the oil and gas industry, et cetera. I mean, Hunter Biden apparently is an expert in Ukrainian gas. Maybe Jason Boebert's an expert in American gas and we didn't know it, right? So give us, we're fair. Going on the fairness. Look, if anybody can take a picture that she had from her modeling career and Photoshop it into sugardaddymeat.com or something, right? So I don't know. So, and if it turns out that anyone on our side is lying, we're gonna pulverize them, okay? Because we're not like the right wing. The right wing, if somebody on their side is lying, they're like, yes, let's go spread the lies. We hate that. If it's not true, we'll come back and double down, et cetera, and say, hey, wait a minute, no, et cetera, and we'll give you all the facts. But right now, it's a giant news story, and if it is true, well, now Republicans, it's on you. So what are you gonna do? I know what you did in the past. Scott DeJarlais, elected in 2011, we find out that he has paid for 3 abortions, including one with his mistress in 2013. You know what happened? He's been in Congress ever since. Republicans in Tennessee kept re-electing him. They're like, oh, abortions, oh, we were lying the whole time. We don't care at all.
Rights
we
for
don't
them.
care at all.
Rights for them, no rights for us. That's, look, for me, if the allegations regarding Boebert's husband end up being true, yes, that is bad. But for me, no, she's running around using her position of power to strip women of the rights that she got to enjoy when she allegedly needed 2 abortions.
Yeah.
And no, I'm done with that. I'm done with, look, some people on the left, they saw this like, oh, I'm gonna need some additional corroboration before I talk about this because we're goody and we wanna make sure we do everything as moral as possible. And look, we're telling you, This hasn't been confirmed by an independent source. We're telling you how credible this PAC has been in the past in regard to Madison Cawthorn. But am I gonna share this story with you right now? Of course I am, because I'm much less interested in virtue signaling my morality and way more interested in pointing out the fact that these people are stripping us of our rights, okay? While they get to enjoy the very rights that they're trying to take away from us. No, I'm not here for that. I'm here to call them out. I'm so happy that she is the latest target by this political action committee because again, they were really effective and relentless when it came to Madison Cawthorn. I would just ask them, maybe focus on a few Democratic senators next.
Oh, they'll never do that. So look, I don't think they will. I don't know who funds them, etc. But I do know, generally speaking, corporate Democrats are untouchable in Washington, right? So that it's gonna leave it to us progressives to figure that part out. But anyways, I don't care who does it. If they're guilty, they're guilty. So that leads me to my conclusions. Look, on the escort stuff, if she's an escort and some people partook, that's their business, that's not my business. But when you're an escort for the donors, then it's my business. So if you say, hey, give me $500,000 to me or my husband, and then I'll give you whatever vote you want, or Ted Cruz, I'll do you favors, I'll do Koch brothers favors, etc. That's the kind of escort that I despise. Okay, not one that uses their body, but that sells out their votes and their voters for money, cash, and they prostitute their position and the trust that the American people put in them. So I care about that a lot. So let's see what happens with that. And then number two, by the way, if her husband took money from the oil and gas guys and has no consulting experience whatsoever in that industry or any other industry, irregardless of every other fact, that's already horrible. That's already the swamp. And you should vote her out based on that alone. Don't you get it? She's selling you out for money in her pocket, in her family's pocket. Okay, and then finally on the abortions. Look, guys, it's a win-win. Either Republicans go, oh no, we meant it, we're pro-life, we don't like that she got 2 abortions, we're gonna judge her and all that stuff, and she's gone. And she's one of the most loathsome members of Congress, again, regardless of any of this, is gone, that's great. Or Republicans, much more likely, you'll reveal yourselves. You'll know that she had it if it's confirmed, and you'll say, I don't care. We're just trying to own the libs. We never cared about the babies. We didn't care about the fetuses, the zygotes. We didn't care about life. We didn't care about religion. We don't care about anything but hating you guys. So she had abortions. My guess is the Republican voters will go, we don't care at all, at all. It's just a talking point. It's just propaganda. We don't actually give a damn.
Yeah, and it's not just propaganda. It's a way, it's a vehicle that they use to accumulate power and nothing more. Look at the history of how the right wing in this country came to be the dominant political party against abortion. It had nothing to do with life and death. It had everything to do with power accumulation in American politics. That is it. Anyway, we got to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll switch gears. We'll move away from the salacious for a moment and talk about what would happen during the pandemic if Americans had universal health care. Come right back, we got that and more.
All right, back on TYT, Cenk and Anna with you guys. Also, Beowulf. Beowulf just joined by hitting the join button below on YouTube. All right, Anna.
Lindsey is a very good and effective representative of the establishment. Does Lindsey have the concern that we are the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people? That some 60,000 people a year die because they don't get to a doctor on time? I didn't hear much about that in that opening statement. Lindsey care that we have the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs, and that the pharmaceutical industry right now has 1,500 paid lobbyists in Washington, D.C. to make sure that in some cases we pay 10 times more for the medicine that we need?
That was Senator Bernie Sanders debating Senator Lindsey Graham on the issue of health care. And that topic is definitely timely, considering the fact that a new study indicates that literally hundreds of thousands of Americans could have been living today had they had access to universal health care during the pandemic. This is a study that was just published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, and here are their findings. The lead author, Alison Gallivanis, looked into, I wanna get into their methodology to explain how they found the numbers here. They looked at the mortality risks of COVID-19 among people with and without insurance, as well as their risks of all other causes of deaths. The researchers compiled population characteristics of all uninsured Americans during the pandemic, controlling for all sorts of factors, including age, life expectancy, the elevation in mortality associated with lack of insurance, all of that. So let's get to the details. What did they find? The researchers calculated that 131,438 people in total could have been saved from dying of COVID in 2020 alone, and more than 200,000 additional deaths from COVID-19 could have been averted since then, bringing the total through March 12, 2022 to more than 338,000 people. That's how many people could have lived if they had healthcare during a deadly pandemic. Now, it's possible that this study is actually underestimating the number of lives that could have been saved had we actually had a healthcare system in this country that made sense. Having consistent access to care can prevent chronic disease from occurring and can ensure that patients who develop chronic disease have it better managed. I would think that if one took that into account, the estimates of avoided deaths would be greater than the numbers reported here, and that's according to Ann Keller from UC Berkeley. She's an associate professor of health policy and management. And the other thing I want to mention is just how much money having a system like Medicare for All, for instance, would actually save. Our current system is incredibly expensive, but that is not what Lindsey Graham would have you believe. In fact, during his debate with Bernie Sanders, he uttered the same BS lies that we hear from, corporate Republicans and corporate Democrats, to be quite honest. Let's watch.
I'd like to lower healthcare costs, but I'm not going to take away your private coverage. You're going to take private healthcare away from 200 million Americans, put us all under the government umbrella. It's going to cost about $40 trillion. In 2034, we'll be spending as much to maintain Medicare for all as we do for the entire federal government today.
Now, of course, one of the favorites, one of the darlings of the private healthcare industry, especially when it comes to legalized bribes, would lie and utter those claims. But the researchers of this study found that a single-payer healthcare system would actually generate savings in 3 ways: more efficient investment in preventative care, so take care of people before they get super sick, lowered administrative costs, and increased negotiating power for pharmaceuticals, equipment, and fees. This would ultimately produce a net savings. Let me repeat that, a net savings of $459 billion in 2020 and $438 billion in a non-pandemic year, according to the authors of this study. Cenk.
Okay. So first thing I want to emphasize is that these are real scientists. This is in Scientific American. This is not a political article in terms of the numbers that you're seeing, both in the death rates and in the amount of money that we save. So what scientists don't do is just make up stuff. They study it. They look at all the different factors. They then take out the different factors that might affect it, like age, background, did you already have diseases, etc. They did all of that. There's a terrific study, and it's no joke, guys. And like we treat it like, oh, it's no big deal or it's theoretical. No, 338,000 people died because we have a system where we kill people for profit. No other developed nation has this system. They all have single payer. They all have universal healthcare coverage for 2 reasons. One, it's shown indisputably in every country that's ever done it that it's lower price and better results. So it's already, that debate is already over. Everything else you see in America is a lie. The media is lying to you, the politicians are lying to you. That debate worldwide is 100% over. everyone needs to be in universal health care just on costs and results alone, but I've got part two.
I just want to go to graphic 6 while you're making that point, because graphic 6 is a graph that shows you how the United States fares compared to all of these other developed countries, healthcare system performance compared to spending. And as you can see, all of these other countries actually spend far less on their healthcare and provide far better results. And we've talked about that over and over again. So I just wanted to provide some evidence to what Cenk is saying here.
Yeah, and so part of the lies is what Lindsey Graham just did, where he says, well, you're gonna lose your private insurance. And so look, if the Republicans said such a stupid, outrageous lie, I just say, okay, yeah, they're protecting their donors, etc. But the media repeats that lie over, mainstream media, over and over again. That's Jake Tapper's favorite lie. It's cable news's favorite lie. So why do I call it a lie? So I asked one of the biggest opponents of Medicare for All, Michael Bennet. He's a corporate Democrat from Colorado. He was running for president. I asked him 2 different times. I said, look, you guys keep saying it takes away private insurance, but it gives you better insurance that covers more coverage. In fact, it's universal coverage, and you could choose any doctor you want. Isn't that true? And he said, oh yeah, that's definitely true. It's the quote unquote Cadillac package. So what difference does it make if it takes away your private insurance and replaces it with better insurance?
Well, his donors don't like the Cadillac package.
Yeah, and you get better coverage and any doctor you want. What earthly difference? But they frame it like, oh, as if private insurance is good. You guys have private insurance. Is it good? Is it like, oh, you get anything you want? You go to any doctor? No, you got to be in network. You can't be out of network. There's lines after lines after lines. It's super expensive premiums deductibles. They're like, oh, they'll take that away and just give you insurance for free. Ooh, that covers everything. Ooh, well, that sounds so bad. No, it's a fundamental lie. Lindsey Graham's a liar. If anybody you see on cable news repeating that, they're doing that for propaganda purposes. So, and then finally, look, there's the moral argument. Are we really gonna let over 300,000 people die so that corporate executives and totally needless private insurance companies make billions in profits?
Yes, we are. Yeah. We've already done it. We've already done it.
So, and understand that everyone who's opposed to universal health care coverage or Medicare for all says, yes, we should let them die so that my donors can make more money. That's just a fact. It's an absolute, irrefutable fact.
Well, I want to actually get to the debate that Bernie Sanders had with Lindsey Graham. This aired on Fox Nation, which is their online platform. But we've got some videos to share with you. So let's get right to it.
Talk about the fact that we have in South Carolina and all over this country, tens of millions of workers working for starvation wages? Did he talk about a corrupt political system in which billionaires today can start a super PAC? And I guess you have some familiarity with super PACs. They help fund your campaign. Who can spend unlimited amounts of money to elect candidates. You have the absurd situation where super PACs frequently spend more money than the candidates themselves.
Well, I'll be glad to speak to my campaign. I raised $112 million. The average donation was about $40.
That was Bernie Sanders calling out the corruption of Senator Lindsey Graham, who lied in that video and made it seem as though most of his campaign donations came from small dollar donors. Reality indicates that what he says couldn't be further from the truth, and I have the receipts to provide evidence for the point that I'm trying to make here. In fact, let's go to this quick headline from Axios. This is from October of 2020 when Lindsey Graham was running for re-election. GOP super PAC will spend $10 million to help Lindsey Graham in South Carolina. But we should get to the nitty gritty. Let's get to the actual numbers here. And also, just want to give a round of applause to Bernie Sanders for doing what he should do on a regular basis, which is play hardball with his political opponents and call out their corruption. Now, to get to some specifics here, Idaho's Frank Vandersloot, worth an estimated $3.5 billion, contributed $300,000 to a pro-Graham super PAC named Security is Strength. Florida's Laura Perlmutter, the wife of Marvel Comics king Ike Perlmutter, donated $250,000. Sandwich tycoon Jimmy John Leotard, also of Florida, gave $150,000. These don't really seem like small dollar donors to me, Cenk. I don't know, I could be wrong. You also have Massachusetts shoe baron, sounds like a fun guy, Jim Davis of New Balance, who contributed $100,000. But the list goes on and on. One more graphic for you, just to really drive home the point that someone like Lindsey Graham is not supported by grassroots efforts of fundraising. In all, 8 billionaires and their spouses gave about $1.1 million to the group during the first 2 weeks of October of 2020 alone. At least 4 million more came from so-called dark money groups, which can funnel money into the political system without disclosing their donors.
Yeah, so I did the math on it. Like the 10 million, it's just a little bit higher than $40. A little bit higher. Tiny. And then I did more math, 300,000 also higher than $40. 200. He says on average. No, he's doing two different tricks here. I guarantee you that he's quoting only from the bucket of his small donors and completely leaving out the large donors. And he knows, this is mainly airing on Fox. And by the way, credit to Fox for airing it. It's an interesting debate. But it's mainly airing on Fox. They'll believe me. I'll just lie. It's no big deal. And he's not counting the super PACs. But Bernie was mainly addressing the super PACs. So you have your own campaign that's already corrupt enough. You collect tons of cash from big donors. And then the super PACs come in on top and layer in this extra layer of corruption. And look at our system. I mean, our oligarchs are, our system is hilarious. Look at the shoe oligarch and the sandwich oligarch and who's the guy, the one thing that I like, I was so bummed, Marvel Comics. And then he comes in and then it chips in. I mean, look, it's just an open auction. So I want to give Bernie a ton of credit here because we've asked him to be more aggressive with his colleagues. And here he is. That was really aggressive, wonderful, honest, right? And to call it what it is, corruption, and he's doing both here. Now, of course, I want him to do it with fellow Democrats too.
Yes.
And that's a bridge too far for him. But hey, I'll take it because nobody even does it with Republicans, so it's a good start.
It is a good start. Now, he deserves credit in how he handled the issue of corruption because there's no question that Lindsey Graham and other politicians like him are certainly corrupt. But one thing that was really noticeable during this debate was how much Lindsey Graham focused on two issues, okay? Inflation and crime. So I want to talk about inflation because he kept talking about what a lot of Americans are suffering with right now, which is high gas prices. You go to the pump, the national average is around $5 now. In California, we always pay $1.50 more because of the gas tax that we've implemented here, which I think should be suspended during this difficult time because working families are struggling, to be honest. Now, with that said though, I don't think that Bernie Sanders did a good enough job in dismantling the talking points coming from Lindsey Graham because fact of the matter is, the United States is the top oil and gas producing country in the world. We're #1 in our production of oil and gas. Lindsey Graham doesn't want you to know that though. Republicans don't want you to know that though, because the point that they try to make is it's Joe Biden's fault, it's the Democrats' fault. They're withholding oil and gas production, which just is not true. And so let's go to this next video because this is where Bernie tries to set the record straight on the issue. You tell me what you think about how he handled it.
Well, let's talk about gas prices because you're right. They are outrageously high in Vermont. They're now filled up the other day, $5.05 a gallon. Meanwhile, the major oil companies made $35 billion in profit in the first quarter of this year. And at the end of the year, it is estimated they're going to give $88 billion in stock buybacks to their wealthy shareholders. So I do think we have to do something about the outrageously high price of gas. I think the president should bring the major oil companies in and tell them we're going to have a windfall profits tax on what they're doing in order to stop them from ripping off the American people.
The United States is the top oil and gas producing country in the world. There's no evidence to back the claim that Democrats are stopping the production of oil and gas. And also, these are multinational corporations. These are not nationalized. This is not a nationalized industry. Biden doesn't have control over oil and gas prices. I just feel like the message needs to be simpler, so people understand there is no evidence indicating that we're not producing enough oil and gas. That's all I have to say about that.
No, so Anna, your answer is great, but I didn't think his answer was terrible.
It was good in that, yes, oil and gas industry greed is definitely part of the answer. But you have to first start by mentioning that we produce more oil and gas than any other country in the world.
Yeah, and so that's definitely not the issue, and it goes to the whole world market, as Anna explained. But I want to touch on a couple other things. So first of all, here in California, we think Vermont's lucky. It's like $7 in the gas station across the street for
yes.
me. Yeah, very literally. And so now, but TYT Investigates did a story about this that is actually amazing and tells you there actually is something that people can do. And in fact, Ro Khanna has started to work on it. Ro Khanna often works with Bernie Sanders in Congress about these issues, and we did a follow-up story on that. And you can find it on tyt.com, both of those stories. And so what does it say? It says that there's actually a loophole that was put into the Dodd-Frank bill that allows the bankers to speculate on oil and gas prices. And that's a huge part of the reason why the prices are actually have been driven up. It's not so much the market forces as much as it is the extra swaps and derivatives gambling that the bankers are doing on top. So now, Trump refused to close, Obama tried to close the loophole at the end of his term. He found it very late, conveniently. They acted on it very late, so I think he deserves blame for that, to be honest. Trump, of course, instantly said, no regulations, no. Make sure you let the bankers gamble on anything they like, even if it drives up prices. So it's mainly on Trump for not doing that for 4 years. But here we are in the Biden administration, they still haven't closed the loophole. You know why? Because corporate politicians love bankers. They love taking money from them. They love taking money from oil and gas industry, etc. So here we are with giant gas prices. So the one thing that's true that Biden could do, Lindsey Graham would never want him to do, which is regulate the bankers. Right. If you close that loophole and they couldn't gamble it on anymore, prices would definitely drop. But Lindsey Graham doesn't want any part of that because they're his donors.
In the coming days, we'll cover more clips from that debate. But for now, we're gonna take a quick break. And when we come back, we actually have more Bernie-related news to share with you. So come right back.
Back on TYT, Cenk, Anna, and Simon Ray. Simon, thank you for joining by hitting the join button below on YouTube. We appreciate it. And then Francisco Ferrer wrote in on Super Chat. Anna's delivery of the Boebert bombshell was made better by Cenk's reactions in the background. And then crying, laughing emoji. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying in case there's a poll. All right, Anna.
Of course you wanted to read that comment.
So
of course you did.
What? I'm unbiased.
All right, we gotta go. Let's do it.
Okay.
Bernie Sanders has confirmed that he will not, in fact, run for president in 2024 if, and this is a big if, Joe Biden plans on running for re-election himself. Now, Biden has said that he plans to run for re-election, even though when he was running in 2020, he said he would just seek one term. I think we all realized that was BS. But nonetheless, in an interview with CNN, Bernie said, quote, "I think it's a little too early." The Vermont independent who caucuses with Democrats told CNN when asked if he would back Biden in 2024. "I think Biden will probably run again, and if he runs again, I will support him." Asked if he would run against Biden in a primary, Sanders said, "Not if he runs." I feel like the first part of the conversation made that abundantly clear, but I guess they needed more confirmation on that. Now, again, Biden does plan on running for the, running for re-election in 2024. But Bernie is apparently showing a little more support for Biden than other progressives are showing. In fact, just over the weekend, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was asked a similar question, and here's how she handled that question.
President Biden, he is saying he's going to run again in 2024. Will you support him?
You know, if the president chooses to run again in 2024, I mean, first of all, I'm focused on winning this majority right now and preserving a majority this year in 2022. So we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But I think if the president has a vision, then that's something certainly we're all willing to entertain and examine when the time comes.
That's not a yes.
Yeah, you know, I think we should endorse when we get to it, but I believe that the president has been doing a very good job so far, and you know, should he run again, I think that I think it's we'll take a look at it.
Okay.
But right now we need to focus on winning a majority instead of a presidential election.
Man, Dana Bash did not like that answer.
Yeah, look, I know, but she might have been focusing on the prompter and stuff, but her facial expressions seem to not like that answer.
Yeah.
But guys, so here's the important parts. Number one, I like AOC's answer a lot better than I like Bernie's answer.
Fascinating.
But number two, so I'm gonna be fair and tell you the bubble that they live in. This is their reality. It's not your reality, it's not my reality. But I'm trying to explain to you though that they genuinely believe this stuff. Okay, they really believe like saying that you were not going to support Biden if he runs again is the biggest crime there is. Like in Washington, that's like if Bernie had said, "Well, I'll see. We'll see if I support Biden." Everybody's heads would have exploded in Washington. They would have said, "You're a monster. You're the worst person on earth. You've betrayed Democrats." Now we won't be able to pass anything. As if they were going to pass something. As if, right? So you, as a person not living in cuckoo land, which is Washington, D.C., think, well, why wouldn't you support a primary against Biden? He didn't do a single one of the progressive policy proposals that he pretended to be in favor of. Not one. In fact, it'd be outrageous if somebody didn't primary him. But in Washington, it's a capital offense. So the fact that AOC wouldn't say yes, frowned upon, greatly frowned upon. So that took courage on her part to say that, so thank you, okay? Now, when it comes to Bernie, I love you, brother, but this is the core of Bernie's problem. He cannot, under penalty of law, criticize a fellow Democrat.
Unless it's Hillary Clinton. I think
no, not even then.
In 2016, he did a pretty good job.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
Yeah, he did. What do you mean,
Jay? He barely laid a glove on her.
No, you're insane.
No, I'm
you're
not.
Having memory loss issues here.
No way.
100%.
No.
During the Democratic primary in 2016, he called out her corruption left and right.
No, he didn't. So look, let me just clearly explain. Okay, so look, he couple of times like obliquely mentioned that she gave speeches to banks for direct cash, not even campaign money, cash in her pocket, right? So that's what Anna's referring to. That's calling out the corruption, right? So I'll give you that, right?
Okay.
But when asked in a debate by the same Dana Bash, by the way, in the Brooklyn debate in 2016, it was the critical moment. She said, you know, you say that Hillary Clinton shouldn't have given those speeches, et cetera, but did it affect any of her votes? As usual, I love Bernie, but he blinked. And he said, no, it's not true. It did affect her vote. It affected her vote in the bankruptcy bill. When she was first lady, she was against it. She wanted to protect students and average Americans. She originally, like a billion years ago, Hillary Clinton was left wing, right? But through this process, she became more and more and more right wing through politics and sitting on the board of Walmart, et cetera. And so by the time she was a senator, she had taken both personal money from the bankers and then tons of campaign contributions. She switched her vote and said, yes, no, you should not get bankruptcy protection. Trump should, rich people should, but if you're a student, you should not get it, okay? And that should be an albatross around your neck for the rest of your life. Joe Biden's the guy who pushed that, and Hillary Clinton voted for it, okay? And Bernie would not call it out. In fact, in that debate, he wound up protecting her by saying no. It just wasn't true. When it comes to, hey, is that person, a Democrat right there, corrupt? Bernie will not say yes under any circumstance. And then we can't have it. So I'll tell you right now, I wouldn't support Bernie for another run. Because he's gonna make that same mistake again and again and again. We saw him just a minute ago call out Lindsey Graham in a debate that Fox held, right? Great, I love it. finally calling out Republicans by name, right? But calling out a Democrat, you can't. And if you can't call out Democrats in a primary where there's only Democrats, you can't win the primary. It's a zero-sum game. Either you're gonna win or they're gonna win. You have to attack them, not with lies, not with smears, but with facts and reality. And Bernie's not gonna do it. In fact, I'll say one last thing about this. We need an outsider. The Washington bubble is too thick. They have a completely different reality. Every person in that system, if they run in a Democratic primary, will do kid gloves with the other Democrats. Oh, my beloved corporate Democratic colleague who's taken millions and millions from all these corrupt industries, but I won't say anything. No. Because it's more important to be polite to your goddamn colleagues than it is to actually win for progressives and for voters. So we need a complete outsider who doesn't believe in this system at all to come in and go, no, sorry Bernie, sorry everybody else, sorry Biden, but you guys are all corrupt and I'm gonna call it out. And that person will become intensely popular because everybody will go, finally, someone said it.
All right, well, let's move on to some other news, including an update on the story we covered regarding Patriot Front members getting arrested. One of the dozens of Patriot Front white supremacist members who got arrested over the weekend for attempting to riot at a pride event in Idaho was apparently kicked out of his mommy's house as a punishment for what he was about to do. In fact, his mom is pretty epic because she spoke to the press about what likely motivated his involvement in this white supremacist gang, but also she's calling him out to embarrass him and try to persuade him to get out or to get kicked out of this white supremacist group. Now, before I get to the details on what his mother had to say, let's back up a little bit, give you a little bit of context in case you missed this story, which broke over the weekend. So dozens of these white supremacists were arrested in Idaho moments before they were potentially going to riot at this pride event in Coeur d'Alene. Now, after receiving a tip from a concerned citizen, the police detained and charged 31 people who belonged to this far-right group. And Lee White, who's the police chief of the area, said all this in a press conference. They're now being charged with conspiracy to riot, which is a misdemeanor. Unfortunately, someone decided to bail them all out, so they're all out on bail as we speak. Now, Patriot Front is a white supremacist group that formed from disaffected members of another white supremacist group known as Vanguard America. Just a bunch of hateful dweebs who keep splintering off into their own weird white supremacist groups, just meant to go around causing pain and suffering to innocent people, including those celebrating Pride in Idaho. Now, a manifesto posted to the group's website soon after it formed called for American fascism, which it described as a return to the traditions and virtues of our forefathers. The manifesto also made clear that non-whites were not Americans. So let's now get to the specific individual that we want to talk about and what his mother had to say about him. So Jared Michael Boyce happened to be one of the individuals who was arrested over the weekend. He is a Patriot Front member, and he's currently looking for a new place to stay. He was living with his mother in Springville, Utah. And his mom's like, no, you just got arrested for being part of this disgusting, hateful group. I didn't raise you this way, and I want you out of my house. So Karen Amston, the mother of Jared Michael Boyce, told the Daily Beast that her son had struggled since his father left their family years ago and came out as gay. And she said she was going public in hopes of damaging her son's reputation in the group and finally cut ties with white nationalism.
Wow.
I know, it's pretty amazing, and I give her a lot of credit for doing this. So here's what she told the Daily Beast. I told him, well, then you can't live here. You can choose between Patriot Front or your family. And he's like, well, I can't quit Patriot Front. I'm like, well, then you've just chosen. So pack your stuff and get out of my house.
Damn.
Yeah.
All right, I love that Mom, that's awesome. That reminds me of De Niro in Heat. Clean up, go home. Clean up, go home.
But not my home, a different home.
Yeah, completely different home.
Yeah.
Look, man, if that happened to my kids, my heart would break in a million pieces. And so that's a super tough situation for a parent. But I hope I would do exactly what she did, which is, no. Look, I didn't raise you that way. And if you became that way somehow, I'm gonna look to help you in every way possible, but I'm not going to aid and abet it. I'm not gonna encourage it. I'm not gonna enable it. You gotta go, okay? And then I'd meet for lunch every day, okay? To talk you out of this nonsense, this idiocy, right? But if you're gonna be hateful, you're not gonna do it under my roof. So thank you to that mother for having all of our backs.
She also says, I would love to do whatever I can to out him as a Patriot Front member so that he can't be a part of it and that they don't want him to be part of their group because his mom has loose lips and a big mouth and he's never going to get away with anything. God, I love her so much. She seems like a great woman, okay?
Now that's a Karen I could get beyond.
100%.
Okay, there you go. Her name is literally Karen.
But I want to go back to when we originally talked about this story, when the 31 Patriot Front gang members were arrested. I made a point about why these people are so obsessed with causing pain and suffering to individuals who aren't in any way harming their lives. They're just trying to celebrate, they're trying to have a good time, they're minding their own business. Why are they so obsessed with showing up? This guy lives in Utah, showing up to Idaho to riot at a Pride event. And I wanted to, just go back to what the mother had to say about his father, right? So his father leaves the family, turns out that he's gay. And I have no doubt that this, Jared Michael Boyce guy is like blaming the gay community for it, right? And in fact, according to the report, he apparently told his mom, "Don't believe the media, Mom. We were just there because they're grooming kids." So he believes all sorts of nonsense that's, by the way, perpetuated and spewed by the right wing in America in regard to the LGBTQ community. Complete lies, complete nonsense. In fact, if you really want to take a look at groomers in this country, take a good hard look at Republican lawmakers like Matt Gaetz, who's currently under investigation for allegedly paying a minor for sex.
And Dennis Hastert and Donald Trump, who said he knew that Epstein liked him young and wished his co-conspirator well twice. We can go on and on. So look, Rashad has a segment on Indisputable called "I Wish a Karen Would." Apparently this is what we wish a Karen would.
Yes.
Okay, so I was wearing that shirt the other day, shoptyt.com. I love the mom, but this poison gets into their heads somehow. It didn't get in there through the mom, it didn't get in there through the dad. It got in there from right-wing media. And right-wing media told them, "Oh my God, all gay people, you're mad, you're a little disgruntled about what happened in your personal life or whatever the reason might be. Well, you know what? Oh, they're evil and they're immoral and you should do something about it. And they're going after the kids." I mean, look, that's what, honestly, is a little heartbreaking. We get mad at Joe Rogan and stuff, but he used to be a decent guy and I feel like he could be. But when he said that about how gay teachers might be grooming, it just was disgusting. And how many people are watching and are impressionable, are young and they don't know better and they don't know the facts. And the poison gets into their heads and now next thing you know, he's in a U-Haul van with 30 other idiots planning to attack those people at that Pride event that were totally innocent, didn't do anything wrong. This is what the problem with hateful propaganda. And one more time to his mom, Karen, thank you. Thank you for sticking up for all of us.
All right, we're gonna take a brief break, and when we come back for the second hour, we will lighten things up a little bit and talk about Donald Trump writing kind of a gross message for Matt Gaetz. And then later in the show, we'll talk about sexy trash cans because they do in fact exist, not here in the United States, but in a European country. We'll tell you where.
Thanks for listening to the full episode of The Young Turks. Support our work, listen ad-free, access members-only bonus content, and more by subscribing to Apple Podcasts at apple.co/TYT. I'm your host, Cenk Uygur, and I'll see you soon.